Hello, everyone. This is Eric Diaz, and thank you and welcome to CIS 103. I want to thank Jake Bova for being with us today. And this is the second time I've actually had Jake on this class in order to just share a little bit about his background, what he does as a digital content manager. So let me introduce Jake really quick. So Jake is a digital content manager at Nativa Multicultural Communications. His role is to manage the social media platforms, primarily in the recruiting efforts for the Ohio Army National Guard. Directing social media and brand voice, he works with the client on campaigns and pitches ideas for a creative delivery. Jake's goal in working with his client is to create genuine content that speaks directly to the audience. Figuring out what the audience is interested in seeing and really tapping into that has been consistent in Jake's work with the National Guard. The primary platforms that Jake manages include the Facebook page, which has 35,000 followers, as well as the Instagram page at nearly 10,000 followers for the Ohio Army National Guard. So Jake, thank you very much for being with us.
Yeah, sure thing. Happy to be here.
Very good. So Jake, let's just hop in, talk a little bit about day to day. What is it like for you? What does your job entail on a daily basis as a digital content manager?
So from the day to day, my job entails just making sure that our social media is, up to stuff. Nothing is big, red flags on there. Monitoring comments, feedback, creating new media, putting reports together, shooting media, kind of a jack of all trades sort of situation here where I manage photo, video, infographic content, do a lot of design work as well. So a lot of it's just scheduling and media making and making sure that we can tell a good story.
Good. What would you say, like, how, when it comes to like planning, how far ahead are you planning out for your content?
Currently, I think I have content up until midway through May for me. I could sit down and probably knock out an entire year, but that'd be putting a lot of trust into the system.
Yeah, predicting that nothing is going to happen between now and then, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, I like to give myself like a couple free spaces here and there. Like if I pull up my calendar, there's a few spaces on the map that are empty days, but that's just for me to decide closer to the date whether or not something new cultural topic had showed up. Like, for instance, when Betty White passed, we made one of the blank spaces on the board a motivational piece with her, since she was in the military, she was a world-renowned figure, and she passed recently, and it was also the day of her 100th birthday. Perfect, line up for us to talk about her and her military experience. So that was a win-win. But things like that are always good to have blank, just in case something pops up that you want to speak to.
Yeah, that makes sense, definitely. So tell us a little bit about, like, how'd you get to where you are today as digital content manager, and like maybe just walk us through like what your steps were. A little bit of background on the people in this class. A lot of them are in college thinking about graduating. What are they going to do next? How do they get their first jobs in social media? So just tell us a little bit about your path, if you would.
Yeah, for sure. So my path didn't even start in marketing. I have absolutely no formal experience in school with marketing. I have no formal training whatsoever. My background was I went to art school. I did film and graphic content, and my minor is in creative writing and script writing. So where does that lead to here? Well, actually, it's one of those things where my focus really was storytelling, right? And I kind of jumped between a few jobs. I did TV, I did movies, I had all my good time there. But at one point, I decided, I was like, oh wow, this just isn't competitive. And the job I was working at, there was a social media marketer there who I was just making content for, stories and images and what have you. And I was like, teach me what you do. I need to be competitive. I need to see what you're doing because I need to have my hands on everything. So I started at the very bottom and learned from experience. I learned from making a lot of mistakes. I learned from doing a lot of things. And I don't know, I wore many hats and just jumped up the ladder to the point where now I think, what is it, this November, they're going to fly me out to Nashville to talk to the Pentagon. So like things are happening and it's weird. You have a weird transitional story from 2015 to 2022. It makes no sense.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, no, really inspiring stuff. And then Jake, if we can in a second, I'd love to have you just walk through, maybe share a little bit on your screen about like just some of the recent content, just to kind of show
Yeah.
some of the actual assets that you're managing.
Yeah, yeah. Let me see if I can't share a whole screen. Yeah, here we go. Let me know if that pops up for you. You guys see
Yes,
this? Okay,
yes, I
cool.
do.
So this is our Instagram page. We have daily content. Sometimes we post twice a day if one image isn't doing so hot. For instance, on Mondays, we like to talk about, a rotational of things. We like to talk about soldier stories. We talk about job, career training. Sometimes motivational Mondays. This post didn't do so hot for me. It only got 74 likes. I like to have my content up a bit higher than that. So we bounced around and did a bit of a story on, well, our guard recently got deployed to some hospitals. It's the staffing shortage right now for hospitals. And just a quick material and a story about having them out there at Mount Carmel East, which is one of the hospitals around here. Which is great. People love seeing that. People love seeing deployments, especially when it comes to like, floods, natural disasters, things like that. COVID's been a fantastic natural disaster for us to market on, I should say. Obviously, that word is not great, but it's great in the sense that it shows exactly what the Guard can do for the community. So we just talk about things like, hey, we train in healthcare specialists. So seeing them and they're out there working with vaccines, with masks, helping the community, that's fantastic work. A lot of things that also we like to manage is tech overview, right? So right now in Ohio, we're about to come in on a huge snowstorm. So this whole week has just been a lot of very cold weather and a lot of cold images. So we went ahead and we covered one of our tactical trucks. We just found a nice image of it in a snowy environment. Talked about some of the stats on there. That's great. People love that kind of stuff. They really do enjoy it. Like, there we go. A quick trivia on tech. What's the name of this missile launcher? All right. So people have a lot of fun with that. We got quite a lot of likes there. So I like to cover that kind of media. And I also make the media too. So all this material, like if I pull up Photoshop here, like this is the material that we work with. That's one of our posts that's going to go out probably, just looking at the picture, just let's say summer, late fall kind of area. But we make images for Instagram, primarily Instagram first, and then we share it from there, mostly just because it's not peer-to-peer, it's peer-to-audience, so it's easier for someone to find us. Same thing with like Instagram stories, right? If I have a post that goes out every day, I should have about 4 Instagram stories lined up, which sounds like a lot, and it is. But once you like really get into the flow of making content, really all I'm doing is just swapping out a background image, right? A background image, great, awesome, good. He's a pilot. Some text, there, rotate through. You could pop out 6 of these if you have good images, or maybe you have a difference in text. Maybe you have a noun you want to switch out. Maybe you don't want to say Blackhawks. You should say like the helicopter pilot, right? So you can switch things out, make it look new, and do some A/B testing like that. So we do that. We do some infographic material. So sometimes we'll talk about, leads to enlistments, which is a program of ours where if you're in the military, you can refer a friend to be enlisted and then they get you back some rewards. A lot of it's just like swag and loot, but there's also, ribbons and medals that get awarded for encouraging others to join. So we do like infographics as well. Same with video content. So, people will go in and give their own little testimonials. This kid's just talking about how he liked basic training a lot. So material like that, I should say. Yeah. Is there any content specific you want to look at? Or, I could just go through this all day long. Like, speaking of like the Betty White image, right? Which was great. People love that.
What are your thoughts on hashtags, for example?
Hashtags? Okay. Hashtags is fun. A lot of our recruiters, they have their own media as well. So I like to train them on how to properly use hashtags. When it comes to hashtags, it's good to have maybe like a small paragraph of hashtags to work with. So if I like pull up, here's a good example. First comment should have all your hashtags in it. You can always like tag yourself. I always feel like in the copy, it's good to have like one hashtag at least, and that's just branding, right?
Also,
Or
your
it's
branded hashtag, which is
right.
like
That's a
who's on
branded
everything.
one.
Yep.
Bingo. And if it's specific, like if you can slip it into the copy, that's also pretty great. Otherwise, I like to keep it as the first comment, and maybe about this first chunk here. That's copy and paste. That's my opening lines. That's the ones I use for absolutely everything, which is the major cities, the major hashtags associated with military, soldiers, stuff like that. And then from there, I like to grab about three to five different hashtags that are specific to the story, specific to the image. I imagine this. Let's see if I scroll up here. Yeah, this is about her that she's going to Ohio State. So I quickly just grabbed a few host Ohio State hashtags as well. Like if we do this one here, we got a couple here. There's military weapons, guns of Instagram, weapons dailies, weapons, guns, armed forces, that kind of thing. Image specific and text specific, right? So it's good to like do a few of these, and you can get these out of the way pretty fast. Try to find maybe 20 or so hashtags that are something that's never going to change, that is widely relevant to what you're selling, what your client's selling, maybe the area, the demographic that you're in, right? So we all only target Ohio. I like to target some Ohio cities. And then, obviously, National Guard for obvious reasons, and the U.S. Army, Army Life, Army Strong, that kind of thing. So
very good.
Pretty easy to get that one out of the way. Like save it on your phone and make it every time you post.
Jake, can you show a couple of the other assets you have on there? Maybe like how do you decide on the different stories? I guess the different categories of the stories in there. And
oh, for sure, yeah. So we cover stuff every single day. Covering right now it's at Tuesdays. We do test Tuesdays. So one of the things that we like to do is like really to boost engagement is run through practice ASVABs. It's like an entry test that people take as they join the Guard. So like people can fill out these little trivias. We have so many. So like that's, gosh, from 100 weeks ago.
You said it was Test Tuesdays, is that right?
Yeah, it's our Trivia Tuesday, Test Tuesday. I like to change up the hashtag every now and then to see what works. So it's do some A/B testing. So if you think Test Trivia or Test Tuesday is what's working for you, do it for a while, and then one day try Trivia Tuesday. See how that works. It's good to like expand your audience because the people who have been following this hashtag, they're in. You got them. Unless it's branded, you should just always try to mix it up every now and then, especially if it works for you. We also do career overviews. Gosh, that's a horrible pixelation on there. There we go. So we talk about the careers, what we have in offering, band musicians, petroleum supply specialists, that kind of thing. We do our obvious tech overviews where we get into the technology. Things like really what this speaks to, and actually like preface all this is when I make content, I try to make content for the demographic, right? For the National Guard, that is 18 to mid 30s, predominantly men. All right, obviously women are involved as well, but that's the biggest portion that we're getting our stuff from, right? Biggest number of enlistments are young men. So I try to put myself in that shoes, which is lucky for me. I happen to be a man and within that age line. So I try to think like, wow, what would I like to see? And I'm a big dumb nerd. So I want to see tech and I want to see how fast it can drive and shoot missiles at the same time. Heck yeah. So that comes to play. That comes to play in all of our media. We also like to show off stories as well. So let's see if I can like pick out a couple here. We show recruits as they're being sworn in. And in more recent times, man, I really go through this. We like to tag them as well. And that really shows up the message. Like, for instance, see all these guys here, we've tagged them and they share the image, they like it. And we get all of these from our recruiters as well. So it just helps us like build that community of trust between not just you and your audience, but the people underneath you, the recruiters who are also doing it, right? So if there's any coworkers or fringe elements of your business that is also having a internet presence, it's good to unite that, right? Show them off. We also do like spotlights, so we talk about their stories, some testimonials as well. I'm doing a Did You Know series recently about some quick facts, just fun like that, just to try to rotate it. And every year we have graduates images for people who have graduated in their in the RSP program, which is for high schoolers. And then frequently asked questions, which is pretty obvious or off the cuff. The most asked questions and some joke ones about how many hot tubs you can buy with the enlistment. And then we did one for COVID, right? When COVID first dropped, we had a lot of questions, obviously, for us specifically. So I went ahead and of my own volition and made a couple slides for COVID, right? So people who are worried, anxious, especially in that opening couple weeks, we tried to cover a lot of relevant data and information, at least that was pertinent to the time. So that helps. I mean, I have thousands of images that I have in my back server that I put out on a daily basis. So I try to rotate between them every now and then. Like I could probably put out rotating a job post or a tech post on my Instagram story every single day. And I could probably sit down and do 8 hours of just graphic design and be done for the year. So it's good just to try to like keep ahead of yourself and I don't know, put your nose to the ground, put some jazz music on and just work.
Jake, I want to get to some student questions. So I know I have Dee that's with us, and I wanted to give her a chance to send it to ask some of the questions that she sent in. So Dee, if you would.
Hi. So my question is, so what are the most important tools that we should know and work with to create or manage our content?
One of the most important things for managing and especially for scheduling content is Hootsuite. Hootsuite's a program that I use to schedule out my posts, and I probably have up till about mid-May. And there's going to be a cat that walks in front of the screen. That's cool. Hi. Man, that's how online schooling works, right? Cats everywhere. Yeah, absolutely. Hootsuite's #1 program that you're going to want to be familiar with. Also with making content, if you don't have the Adobe Suite, and I know it is expensive, it's about $60 a month to run that. You can get CS6, which is an older version, for free if you know where to find it. I didn't say that, Eric. I didn't say that you should do that, but there are places to get it. And it's relatively easy to work out. There's a lot of YouTube tutorials for it. I mean, that's where I go to make my material, and it's very user-friendly once you get the basics down.
Okay. So, and like for managing content, do you have another one?
Yeah, so I run between Hootsuite and Facebook. Actually has a built-in manager for messaging and comments as well. So their new page experience, which is brand new, and if everybody else hasn't seen it already, then by all means go check that out. It's brand new. It has its own messaging system so that you're able to manage messages and comments on your Facebook and Instagram profile from one place, which is awesome. Thank you for buying Instagram, Zuckerberg. I appreciate it.
Okay, so my second question is, like, in your experience, what's the key to create a successful social media strategy?
To me, it is understanding your demographic, right? Everybody who sells anything is selling it for a specific person. There's an idea of who that person is. And that might be a conversation that you need to have with the clients, the business owner, maybe the people who even worked there, right? Who is that? Who is that ideal person? And try to cater your media, your posts, even your campaigns to that person. If your demographic is Ohio young men and women between the ages of 16 and the mid-30s who are interested in X, Y, and Z, know about it. Listen to the music, watch the stuff, play the video games, whatever you need to do to just try to like get yourself into that mental state. It's good. It's good practice just to take an hour out of your week and just figure it out, right? Just put your mindset into it. That's the best way I could think about when it comes to making assets. I used to also work for a Botox and lips company, which I don't fit the demographic in, but I had to find what that demographic was, right? It was older women between the ages, older, gosh, I'm almost that age, between the ages of like your late 20s to like late 60s, right? That was the clientele that we were bringing in at this Botox lips company. And I had to understand that clientele. So I did everything I could to understand the demographic. I watched a lot of Sex in the City and I drank a lot of wine, and it worked because we did it. Yeah, so just understand your demographic and have fun with it, right? Whatever they like, just talk about that. Be relevant in that conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jake, I want to ask you a couple questions that Rosemary sent in, and one of her questions was in regarding to like COVID-19 and how that affected things. So she asked, since COVID-19, certain things have moved to remote only. How would you say this has impacted your work, if it has?
I get a lot more work done. It's wild. I feel like since this whole work from home push has started, I feel that my productivity and the effectiveness of my material has just skyrocketed. Hello. I don't have as much distractions as that. This is a new thing that's happened that she doesn't want to do in front of cameras, and she just knows it's because I'm busy. Get off the table. Say hello. All right, now you can go. But you know, in the office, there's so many distracting elements. There's coworkers, there's people walking by left and right, and the work from home has been so fun that it's opened up the opportunity to like work on yourself, work on your house, work on X, Y, and Z, but also give yourself the freedom to just work within the hours that make sense for you. Sometimes I have ideas for campaigns at like midnight. And I go downstairs into my office here and I just do it. So it's been pretty awesome just having the freedom. And I mean, obviously you could have done that when you're at work and doing a 9 to 5, but the ability to make those hours flexible for yourself is encouraging you to work on the fly. Maybe you have a wild idea in the shower and you quickly got a towel up and run off to just like make that, you know, ad happen. It's beautiful. It's a fun system. So I'd say, yeah, it's been exciting. It's been, I mean, obviously it's been scary for a lot of us. So, I mean, being this close to the National Guard has been kind of a safety net for me. So I know what's going on and I know what they're doing, but it's, I mean, as for work, it's definitely helped with productivity and creativity.
Another question from Rosemary, and this is about brand voice. So she asked, how difficult is it to develop the brand voice for the business? Have you ever found yourself in a position where you couldn't figure out what exactly you wanted the voice to be?
Yeah. Actually, summer of 2020, right? We had protests, right? We had a lot of things going on. So it was difficult to find what the voice was for a national entity that wasn't strictly allowed to take a side. What was interesting, though, is how when I was out there on the marches, because I joined, it was one of those things where you would go and you would meet these people, these guys, these men and women who were, you know, doing security detail, right? The National Guard. No one was protesting against them, but it was nice to hear that they wanted to be involved. So it's difficult to find a effective voice for what you're trying to say, especially when it comes to like a big commentary like that. But just talk to your coworkers, talk to the people who work there, talk to the client, see what exactly it is that they like to speak about, because they'll give you two answers. They'll give you the paper answer that makes sense for the client, the customer, whatever, and then they'll love what they do. They love what they work. They love the people around them. They're very inclusive. A lot of people will surprise you by that. And it's really nice just to have that voice of just like love and support. So have that speak from within you, have that speak with the coworkers, have that speak with the boss, the manager, the people who make that voice, see if that aligns with you. So yeah, it can be hard sometimes, but a lot of people are on the same side about a lot of things, which is interesting to see.
Jake, you mentioned coming up with ideas at midnight. Talking more about that, if you would, how do you stay creative on the days when you don't find your work exciting, when you're having an off day? What keeps you motivated to create engaging content?
Lo-fi hip hop. And this, one of the things I like to do is I don't like to compare my work to my competition. A lot of times I'll have people come into my office, send me emails about, hey, look at what Indiana National Guard is doing. I absolutely don't. I refuse to do that. Because they steal my work half the time, which is great. But when it comes to getting me motivated, I just look at who is the best in the business at doing what I'm trying to do, right? So tell a story, right? So if I'm making the technology overview, who's the best at doing that? I don't know, like Discovery Channel, or maybe a YouTuber who covers Star Wars spaceships, right? Like, who's the best at covering really cool technology and how fast it goes? Look at what they're doing, and then try to copy that. Blatant copy, just do it. Because I mean, it's the internet. As long as you're not, copyright infringement, you're not going to be hurting them too much. So I don't know, just jog your memory, see who's out there, who's having fun with their work, and it helps you to inspire yourself to have fun with your work. So and maybe test yourself.
So basically, I mean, messages here is like, say that in our class, all the students, they have a fictional business, and they launch a business, they create content for that business.
Yes.
Let's say somebody has a furniture business. They don't necessarily want to just look at what other furniture companies are doing. They may want to get their insights from anywhere. It could be somewhere else along the whole supply chain, or it could be something totally outside of the industry that tells a good story. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. For instance, I mean, like, I guess to that point, like, you're in a furniture business, you're encouraged to look at like IKEA, right? But what's IKEA trying to do? They're not trying to do what the other furniture businesses are trying to do. They're telling a story. If you walk into an IKEA, you're not given just a rows and rows and rows of chairs. You're able to walk through the show floor and be told stories. So where are they getting those from, right? Where are they getting their stories from? And it's from Pinterest. It's from ideas about, what does this place look like? Who lives in this place? What are they doing in this place? So, I mean, try to look at who's the best in the business at telling that specific story, even if it doesn't line up with what your product is, right? Because actually, the image design at the bottom of all of our ads, I stole that from Burger King. The font layout, I got it from Burger King. Like the faded font and the little like fine text at the bottom, it's just a Burger King ad. But it looked neat, and it spoke to me in a way of like, oh wow, that's classy. It's in a weird place to be classy, but it's classy and I like it. I tried it and people responded to it. So I mean, just understand your demographic. What are they going to do in that lazy boy chair, or what are they going to do in that? I was going to say that bedroom, but God, what are they going to do in that kitchen, right? They're going to cook. So what does the best food look like? And maybe compare, a really cool image of, a plate of tacos next to the blender. And just, I don't know, it's one of those things where you just got to tell the story. Who's the best at telling that story?
Oh, totally. Makes sense. I've got a kind of a general question that Joseph sent in, and just in regards to social media. And this has to do with, basically, if you want to get the most bang out of your buck, where do you go? So he asks, how would you bring in the most followers on social media for a business, and which app is the best?
Okay. Yeah, good question. That is the best way to bring in followers. Well, if you find out, let me know. Just kidding. It's work with organic content. One, I'm going to harken back on it. Know your audience, right? Make the content that makes you happy and you have fun with, because they're going to recognize that. And the minute that they start recognizing that, the minute that you start getting a spike in followers, or maybe in hits or likes or comments, boost it. find a small budget. It could be as little as $1 a day, and then boost that material to a brand new audience or the same audience, just in a different location, right? Try to push that media in front of anybody. And once you're on Instagram and you put something out there and it shows you a little blue box that says, hey, do you want to boost this? Try it. Just try it once with $1, maybe $2. Well, hell, in this industry, I do like $5 to $10 on an image that I like, and send it to a brand new demographic in this, not the state next door, but the city north, and then just try to push that content to that new audience. That's the best way I can find to boost my engagement and boost my followers, is just by boosting the content that they like.
That's a great point. Okay. Let's going back to your brand, to your company.
Yeah.
What is number one overall goal on our social media channels?
The number one goal on this social media channel is leads. We are trying to get their name, phone number, and email address so that we can get them in the chair with a recruiter, talk about some options. So we do a lot of lead generation ads and a lot of link click ads. We have a custom fill out form on our website. So it's a bit between link clicks and leads is what we're looking for.
Very good. Now, there's a little bit of difference as far as I think some of your experience, you've worked more on kind of the agency side, where you're like outside of the client location, whereas here is you still work for an agency, but you're working in-house. You're working directly. You report to the client directly. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about like how that differs between the two? Is there benefits, or are there positive or negatives to each one?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really fantastic just to have a working relationship with your client. It lets you know like what their feel is and what they're approving of. And that also helps to speak to the voice, right? When you have a direct relationship with the client, it lets you know, does this match the voice? Does this match the look? Does this even match the color palette or the font that they like, right? Having that one-to-one conversation speaks to them. And if they're engaged with the media that you're making, they'll be more inclined to help you with that. Maybe they're working there. Maybe they have a brand new product, and maybe they're more inclined to show it with you and have fun conversation with it. And that'll jog your memory, and that'll pump you up. We got that last question about what motivates you. People having fun, right? If they're having fun, you're having fun. They're having a good conversation. You're having a good conversation. Maybe you're not in the best mood, but if they're excited about pushing out a brand new product, yeah, awesome. Let's talk about it. That's really cool. So having that one-on-one relationship with your client is awesome. In the agency, though, it's also good to have, resources, right? The agency will know, and they'll have experience, and they'll have a lot more stories to tell. I mean, as far as like, hey, why is my ad not working? That's where someone like your coworkers are going to step in and say like, well, it's dummy. It's because you didn't click this button. You're like, shoot, if I was just working with a client, I wouldn't have realized that because I've been chasing my own tail this entire time. So having that history, that experience with the agency, that is amazing. And you probably should be able to balance both if you can, or if you're unable to work with the agency, like in the future, if you're working directly with a client and you don't have an agency to back you up, get involved with an online community of marketers. I do Reddit marketing. It's just like a subreddit in Reddit where people just talk about, marketing experiences. I actually got in touch with a guy in Berlin during last March when Facebook was changing up their user agreements with their back end, especially with Apple and covering cookie data. So I got to learn a little bit about the industry, about what's going on with him selling clothes in Berlin and how I should be managing my account here in America. So it's good to have agency support. And if you don't have that, find that community that you can like ask questions to, but also be in touch with your client, right? Have those conversations because it'll excite you. It excites them. And you have a better product at the end of the day.
Very good. Very good. All right, Jake, I just have a few more questions and then we'll wrap up. But what would you say is your biggest accomplishment thus far as a content manager?
Biggest thing, let me think about that one. It's seeing my my ads and my designs on other people's stuff. That's fun. Right now, I have a running count of how many different like National Guard states, because every state has their own team. Just saying about how many of them have stolen my media. And it might not even be like the media, but it might be like the way that we do our ASVAB tests, right? Like, so it's like the Q&A. If it's in the same font and the same style and the same format as I did it, it's like, dude, I know what you did. That's always fun, especially when they're bigger states. Like you expect like California or Texas to have like the widest reach, or the most followers or engagement, because Texas is a hard R state, and California might be a little bit more blue, but there's a lot more people there. So you would expect there to be a bit more creativity or engagement in that place. But when you see them steal my stuff, that's pretty good. I like that. So that's a big, but I mean, outside of that, it's really seeing like your product grow or your results grow. I track a lot of my numbers and do quarterly reports with higher command. So when I get to show off like, hey, where were we at in 2019 versus where we were at, in 2022, and those impressions, those leads, those link clicks, I love seeing those big numbers. And so that's really fun, where I get to bring them from 3,000 followers to close now to 8,000. We'll get that there. We'll get there this month. That's a lot of fun, especially when I didn't have to like buy my likes from India.
Another question is from Francisco. Yes, what would you say is the best way to stay consistent on social media? And most importantly, how to stay on top of relevant social media trends or topics?
Yeah. I mean, everybody gets that moment in their life where it's hard to follow social media, and not just social media in the way of what's going on Facebook and Instagram, right? Everybody has a point in their life where they get off the cool train and they stop being cool. My dad stopped at the Beastie Boys. He doesn't think anything else is cool but the Beastie Boys, right? Which, I mean, they're awesome. But at the same time, he got off the boat. He's done. How do you stay relevant? Is not forcing yourself into those conversations, but finding out what speaks to you in those conversations, and just always be willing to learn more. So, I mean, I follow a lot of Reddit threads that maybe I shouldn't, because that sounds horrible, but like maybe I'm a little bit too old, or I'm not in that, that demographic that they're speaking to, right? Like, what are teenagers talking about these days? Turns out it's not just Fortnite. They're talking about major things that are going on in the economy, in the world, things like that. So like, what do they speak to? What hits them? What drives them home? That's really cool. Also, what's going on in social media in the sense of like, what's the latest Marvel movie or the next Star Wars show, or yada, yada, yada. What's driving people's attention these days? Is the next season of Sex and the City any good? It's fantastic. We should speak about that, but maybe not on the National Guard. Maybe for the National Guard, we talk about Bova Fett's ship, for sure. So find out what's relevant to your demographic and engage with it. See what speaks to you. They might not like Queer Eye. I do. I'll find things that I like about Queer Eye to try to swing into there. But, that's just me.
That's great. So, and I think what you speak to is like, because you want to know what is relevant, what's trending among this, I guess, teen audience, 16, 17.
Yeah.
But like you said, you can't just generalize it that it's just Fortnite. Like you said, it's there's a lot more than that.
Right.
And even if it's not necessarily your specific interest, you find something, I guess, that speaks to you from that.
Yeah, or what speaks to the brand, right? Obviously, Boba Fett's ship doesn't speak to the National Guard, but can we describe it in the same way that we describe an M1 Abrams? Yes, absolutely. So then we could talk about that. When we can have fun, we can make light fun. I was in a social media conference last year where the Snow Patrol team from Washington was talking about when Chadwick Boseman passed and how they did a Wakanda Forever post. And the entire floor went nuts because they thought they couldn't reference anybody else but their own. They thought they would get in trouble, that Disney was going to call them up and give them cease and desist. No, it's commentary. You're allowed to do that. As long as you're not making Darth Vader hamburgers, you're going to be fine. Don't trip, right? Especially if you're a technically, not profit business like the National Guard, which you call that a business, call it that. They're not going to knock on our door and say, hey, quit talking about the latest Disney film. It's called commentary. You can talk about it. You can make light of it. You can make jokes about it. It's cool. It's doing it in good taste, and you should be able to like follow what's trending these days. Like right now, the Bengals are going to the Super Bowl, which I don't follow football, but I'm going to try to because it's relevant to my state. And we're gonna make a post about that on Monday. We're gonna make a motivational post with one of the Bengals coaches making a quote, and we're gonna throw the colors behind him. And that's fun because they're going to Super Bowl. So like stay relevant and stay topical and try to keep it there because we like motivation. Motivation is one of our big things that we post around here.
Got it. Okay.
It's so bad.
Final question. So this, as I mentioned, a lot of students are thinking about what they're going to do after they graduate, think about their first job, whether it be at a company or maybe at an agency. So anyway, any advice that you would give to them? People are looking for their first job, want to get into marketing and social media. What would you say?
Yeah. My first job in the marketing world was not the job I wanted, right? But I learned stuff from it, and I knew it was a stepping stone to get where I wanted. Basically, just never be afraid to wear many hats and always try to find something to learn and people to talk to about things. You will never understand what you don't know until you know it. And every year you're going to be able to look back on what you learned from the previous year. Like right now we're doing Snapchat ads. I didn't know about Snapchat ads 2 years ago. No way. I barely knew about Facebook ads before I started this job, but we made it work and it's doing fantastic. So, yeah, never be afraid to like make content because then you'll learn how to make content. And that's going to be another thing in your arsenal. The fact that I can make videos, shoot photos, and make infographics that also get supported by Facebook campaigns that are doing successful, it makes me a more dangerous individual in the field. That's awesome. I don't have to wait for a specialist to come in and shoot photos. I'll just do it. That's fine. Half the time they bring in a specialist to say, hey, do you need this graphic design done? I'm like, no, I'm going to do it better than him. So like, yeah, it's good to always test yourself, try to bring in a new skill set because someday you'll run into a position like mine where you don't want to be sitting there bored for 40 hours a week. Yeah, just make some material, get it out there. Maybe try audioscaping, right? That's brand new stuff that maybe you'll find out a way to do advertising in.
Very good, very good. Jake, this is great. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. Recorded this, everybody's going to get to see it. We're going to make a test out of the content you shared with us, and I think the class is going to learn a lot. So I really do appreciate that.
Bonus question: the cat's name is Godiva, like the chocolate.
Like it. Very good. Everybody, thank you for joining. Jake, thank you again. I will share his LinkedIn in the notes if anybody would like to connect. I highly recommend to reach out to Jake. So thank you again, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.